Hello Pepperdine staff. In this video I'm going to present foundational information and concepts of query basics as it relates to the PeopleSoft Query Manager for the purpose of viewing and building basic PeopleSoft queries. Let's begin by defining a query. The term query means to search, to question, or to find. When you query a database, you're searching for information in a database. So that begs the question, what is a database? A database is a structured collection of records or data that is stored in a computer system. Now we have to answer the question, how is data stored? When information is entered into a database system, the data is stored in tables or records. Each individual piece of data can be identified by the column, known as a field, and a row, known as a transaction, that it is in. So for an example, someone may ask the question or require specific information out of all worldwide employees. They would like to know the employee ID, name, department ID, and phone number of those employees who only work in California. We can obtain that information by creating a query. Within the database, a query can be created by specifying one or more records that contains the information being requested, and then specifying which columns and rows the system should retrieve for query results. Those would be fields and transactions. If you notice, the original record, Record A, does not have the employee's department ID. Consequently, our query will include another record, Record B, to obtain that information. Then we run the query and obtain the results. This is a good time to note that PeopleSoft terms table and record are often used interchangeably. Now that we understand some basic query concepts, let's expand our understanding into what is PeopleSoft Query. PeopleSoft Query is an end-user reporting tool that allows you to retrieve dynamic information from the secure PeopleSoft database. This is done with a graphical user interface via a web browser where the non-technical user can extract specific information using visual representations of the secure PeopleSoft database without writing structured query language or SQL code. By looking at a high-level diagram of the query architecture, the query tool allows you to select and report on database information stored in the PeopleSoft application tables. Through the Query Manager, you can run existing user queries in a preview mode or as a separate HTML process, schedule them to run at predefined times. You can download the results from the query into an Excel spreadsheet, and they can be used as a data source for other applications. Since PeopleSoft is a relational database, it means data is divided into a series of related tables. When retrieving data, the system only accesses the tables that contain the requested data. When using PeopleSoft Query for reporting, you must understand the basic structure of the database, the tables contained in the database, and the data records contained in the tables. Basically, you can compare a relational database to a filing cabinet. The filing cabinet represents the whole database. The drawers of the cabinet represent data files or tables, while individual forms in a drawer represent data records or rows. Consequently, by knowing which tables to access and how to find them is the key to building successful queries. Tables are used to store information in a format similar to a spreadsheet. So we can say a record is a collection of rows that holds a common set of data. Each row is uniquely identified by a unique key, which can be made up of one or more fields. Each table in the database contains unique data not available in any other table. A page of data in the PeopleSoft system may contain data from more than one table. Columns are often known as fields, which store single pieces of information for each row. Course ID is a field in the course catalog table. Each record is defined to contain a certain number of fields. These fields will exist for any row in the record, but may or may not actually have a value. PeopleSoft Query links two or more records using common fields. It links the rows into multiple tables using common values and shared fields. Note that certain fields in a record may be designated as a primary key field. We'll talk more about key fields a little later. Rows are also known as field data, which contains all the information for a unique combination of key values on the table. For instance, in this example of the course catalog table, a row includes the data for these fields: course ID, effective date, effective status, description, and description long. There may be times when you need resultant data from multiple tables in one query. PeopleSoft Query enables you to query against multiple tables using joins. Joins link multiple tables together for use in a query. Joining two or more tables together requires adding criteria to match the data that exist in key fields common to both tables. Thus, tables are joined on their common or key fields. To properly join tables, the database needs to know how the tables are linked. For example, if you want to join the employees table to the citizenship table, you would want the system to look for the rows in each table where, in this example, the EMPL-ID field, the common key field, is the same. Joining tables in this way allows you to take advantage of the indexing built into the PeopleSoft system and allows the system to scan the database more efficiently. Running a query against those tables without first joining the EMPL-ID key fields would produce the following improper output. Since the system does not know how to link the two tables together, it creates a row for every combination of the two. Since the first table has 4 rows and the second has 3, you end up with 12 rows. This is called a Cartesian join and is not what you want. Improperly joined tables can cause serious performance problems for the entire PeopleSoft database. If you join the tables using the key EMPL-ID field and ran the query, you would get the following result. Notice that there are only 3 rows of data in the output. When you join tables, only matching rows in both tables are selected. Here, Humpty Dumpty has no data in the citizenship table. Therefore, Humpty was not included in the results. An important query concept in doing a record join is the table relationships. In PeopleSoft Query, a predefined join is either a record hierarchy join, which is a virtual connection between a parent table and a child table, and is defined by the record properties and the key structure. And a record-related join combines non-hierarchical records that share common fields and is determined by something called a prompt table relationship. So whenever using these two record types, you perform a join that are linked based on a common or key fields. The following diagram shows the technical relationships between the tables of data based on their key structure. So you can see that a record hierarchy join is where data in one table represents details about children of data in another table, whereas related records are specific to a key field in the current record. And its purpose is to retrieve more detailed information, such as descriptions and meanings about something referenced in another table. Since these types of joins are predefined, you do not have to add any criteria to manually link these records. A criterion determines which rows will appear in the results based upon specifying conditions that the retrieved data must meet. PeopleSoft Query uses the paradigm of a funnel to describe how criteria affects the data it examines. Adding criteria allows the user to further narrow down query results. For example, Out of all Pepperdine students, we wish to view only the undergraduates who are born in California. So in our query, we define the criteria to filter that data using three conditions: an effective date less than or equal to the current date, the academic career equal to undergrad, and the birth state equal to California. And the results are returned based only on those three criteria. So let's talk about effective dated tables. Many of the tables used to create queries are effective dated. This means that at least one of the key fields is an effective date, which allows the database to contain current, future, and historical data. When selecting an effective dated table in Query Manager, a message appears that states that an effective date criteria for that table has been added to the query. Successful query writing depends on knowing how the data is organized and stored in the database. Effective dating is an important concept in PeopleSoft Query because it is a prime factor in what you get for data results. Prompts increase a query's flexibility by allowing users to specify the criteria at runtime. One or more prompts can be implemented as part of the criteria for obtaining specific results as required by the user. In this example, the user needs to review student information and their status for non-degree applicants. By adding an admitting term prompt to the query's criteria, it will allow the user to reuse as necessary this same query based on the selected term the user entered. Consequently, the student results are filtered to only those students for that one particular term. PeopleSoft provides multiple levels of security for protection of data, reports, and other components. Queries are vital for the PeopleSoft users. Since there is a risk to expose the data to the outside world, there are two levels of security available. The first level is to determine what records would be available for query to the specific PeopleSoft query user, and a second level decides about the data that must be fetched by them. PeopleSoft provides several options for working with queries. Query Manager is the administrative area in PeopleSoft where you can build, search for, organize, and edit queries. This option allows you to view, run, and modify an existing query or create a new query as well as saving queries. The Query Viewer option allows you to only run and print existing queries and view results in a browser window. This is a read-only version of Query Manager. The Schedule Query option allows you to schedule a runtime for a standard query. Note that the Query Viewer and Query Manager will be the primary focus of these video tutorials. That's it for this tutorial on Query Basics. Be sure to look for the Query Viewer tutorial that demonstrates how to select and run an existing query, and the Query Manager tutorials that describes and demonstrates how to build basic PeopleSoft queries for use in the Pepperdine community. That's it. Thank you for watching.